Today in this video, I am going to be telling the story of Season 4 of the hit Netflix heist series Money Heist. I have done the previous 3 seasons already on my channel, if you want to check those out before watching this one. If you just want to recap a single episode, I will put the episode timestamps in the description below. But with all that said, let's get it started. Episode 1. Game Over. This season kicks off right where the last one left off, where Nairobi had just been shot and everyone is doing their best to save her life. They are about to hand Nairobi to the police so she can get real medical care, but then Palermo is alerted that Lisbon has been killed and they'll do the same to Nairobi. But we know Lisbon isn't dead and they just faked her death. Tokyo and a hostage perform the surgery on Nairobi to remove the bullet. The professor, being completely heartbroken, still finds a way to evade the authorities and escape the woods without being caught. When the professor gets back to the hideout, he gets in touch with Tamayo and proposes a 48 truce so Nairobi can get medical care, and he will release a few hostages. Denver goes around to all of the hostages asking them their blood type because they need A negative blood, and Arturo donates his blood, but it is A positive and not negative. Denver finds this out and gets very angry at Arturo and starts beating him down until Monica comes over to him and begs him to stop. Monica finally sees the anger management issues Denver actually possesses, and she is starting to have her doubts about being with him. Probably just what Arturo wanted to happen. Back to the professor, and he is remembering all of the great memories he shared with Raquel, and still is completely stunned she is dead. He breaks completely down. The episode closes with Nairobi seemingly about to die, and Tamayo is secretly hoping she does because he believes her death would cause them to melt down completely. Episode 2. Berlin's Wedding. The episode opens with Tokyo successfully removing the bullet from Nairobi with the help of the bank governor. They had to cut out a portion of her lung to get to the bullet though, so she is still badly injured. Tokyo and Palermo continue their power struggle as both want to be in charge of the whole operation and don't think the other is the right person to lead the heist. We then see Lisbon's first appearance of the season, and she is brought to the negotiation van where she is interrogated by Alicia. Tokyo gets in touch with the professor asking him if she can be in charge, but he has bigger issues at hand. He tells Tokyo about Lisbon being murdered, but Tokyo tells him it was most likely a fake death illusion using his own trick against him and manipulating him with audio. Tokyo tells the professor she is 99% sure Lisbon is probably getting interrogated right now because the whole public would lash out at the police if they found out Lisbon was murdered in cold blood. The professor then realizes Tokyo is right because there has been no news reported about her at all, just like with Rio. Towards the end of the episode, we see a flashback with everyone at Berlin's wedding, including Marseille and Bogota. Everyone has a good time, but Sergio is still sketched out by Tatiana. The episode ends with Alicia trying to offer Lisbon a deal for her to talk, and she even says she will let Lisbon go free if she turns in the professor. Episode 3. Anatomy Lesson. The episode opens with the professor and Marseille talking with Antonanzas, who is one of the employees in the negotiation van, and they bribe him with €1 million to be their mole inside the van, and he accepts the offer without much hesitation. They want him to pass messages to Lisbon while she is in custody. The professor tells him to say Paris to Lisbon, and she will know what that means. At the RV crash site, Alberto is scoping through the debris, and he finds a SIM card that Raquel meant to destroy, but forgot as she took off running when the cops showed up. When they analyze the SIM card, they see it made calls to the Philippines, and they assume that is where Raquel's mother and daughter are currently living, and if they find them, they will have all the leverage on Raquel. Back at the negotiation van, Antonanzas passes the message to Raquel, which she understands that the professor is safe, and he is going to get her out and tell her mother and daughter to move to a different island in the Philippines. So now Lisbon won't tell Alicia anything. Back in the bank, a coup has been engaged to take Palermo out of the leader's spot for Tokyo to take over, and he is but heard about this and tells Gandia that he will work with him as he doesn't want to work with the robbers anymore. Gandia then breaks out of his cuffs with the help of Palermo. Rio is unable to hold Gandia by himself, and he gets away. The episode closes with Nairobi waking up, and she has survived the dangerous encounter. Episode 4. Pasodoble. With Gandia now free from his cuffs, he starts causing mayhem everywhere in the bank, and the gang try everything in their power to neutralize him, but he is John Wick and Liam Neeson from Taken combined. He finds Nairobi and tries suffocating her, but luckily she is able to stab him in the neck with a needle. He then retreats before the others show up. Arturo and Denver continue their rivalry as Denver is furious Arturo is trying to take Monica back from him. Arturo is easily the most insufferable character on this whole show. In the negotiation van, Lisbon continues to talk about Alicia, but they are talking about pregnancies and stuff not related to the heist, and Tamayo sees this and he doesn't think Alicia is the right person for the job anymore. She is letting it get too personal and not being objective. Alicia tells him there is no one more capable of the job than her, and she is the only one in the country that can match the professor in creativity and calculating the next move. Back inside, Gandia has found Helsinki and almost kills him until Bogota and Tokyo show up and scare Gandia away. Gandia retreats to a panic room that no one else knows about except for him and the bank governor. He also cuts the cameras to the whole building, so the professor loses his live feed. He also found a way to communicate with Tamayo once again and receive his next order. Tamayo tells him they are still under the 48-hour truce, but Gandia doesn't want to follow that, and he wants to take them all out right away. Tamayo tells him he can't stop him from doing that, but he is saying they are under a truce for now, and he won't take any public scrutiny for it. Gandia will. Antonanzas tells the professor about the panic room, and then the professor relays all of the information to Tokyo to find him, but then right away, Gandia knocks her out. Episode 5. 5 minutes earlier. The episode opens up with a flashback of Denver and Moscow asking the professor if their family friend Juan can join in on the heist, but the professor is hesitant on bringing anyone else in. Back in present day, Gandia announces on the bank intercom that he has Tokyo prisoner, and he also says Palermo helped him escape as he is trying to pit the gang against each other. In another flashback, we see Moscow and Denver introduce Juan to the professor, who now is a female and goes by the name Manila. In present day, they are having Manila disguise as a hostage to make sure no hostages try to stage a rebellion, and if they do, Manila can warn the gang. Palermo gets in touch with the professor, and he does admit that he helped Gandia escape from his cuffs, but he did it out of stubbornness after being removed as the leader of the gang. The professor tells him they will talk about it later, but now the important part is the heist, and they will need him to succeed as he knows the plan best out of anyone, as he and Berlin planned it back in the day. While this is going on, the gold continues to be melted the entire time in the basement. Nairobi is now able to be out and about on a wheelchair, and she is feeling a little better, and when she is on the elevator with Bogota, they share a passionate kiss, and he says he loves her and wants to marry her. Yeah, this romance came out of absolutely nowhere. Rio and Denver start hunting Gandia all around the bank, and they find him, but he throws a grenade at them. They luckily survive. Everyone shows up and a massive shootout happens with the gang and Gandia, and of course, he dodges every bullet somehow and comes out unscathed. Gandia plot armor is unbelievable in this show. He escapes through the vent system and ends up in the same room as Nairobi, and he grabs her to use his leverage. Episode 6. Total knockout. The gang rush to check on Nairobi, but Gandia has locked all the doors and says if they try to enter the room, he will blow her head off. He makes a hole in a door and shoves her face inside of it and ties her down so she can't move. In a flashback, we see a conversation with Nairobi and the professor, and she asks him to be a sperm donor for her so she can have another baby. He is hesitant at first, but then agrees as he knows how much it would mean to her. Back in present day, the professor is able to figure out where the panic room is by looking at blueprints and seeing where exactly it would have been built. He then tells the others that the panic room is behind the bathroom in the governor's office. The 48-hour truce is just about to be over, and Tamayo and Suarez are planning another attack the minute they can, and they are tired of waiting. They know the only reason the gang is stalling time is they are trying to figure a way to get the gold out, but they don't know it is being melted down. In the meantime, the professor sends Marseille to Algeria to see if he can find any of the guys that tortured Rio, and if he can get a statement from them for a price, and that can prove that Rio was illegally tortured when they had him captive, which would help tremendously with the court of public opinion. In the bank, Gandia uses Nairobi to get away out of the room without being shot by the others. He then tells Nairobi he told her he would kill her, and then he shoots her in the head and takes off sprinting away, again not being hit by one bullet. Nairobi dies instantly and everyone is heartbroken. Episode 7. Strike the tent. The episode opens with a flash forward of Gandia talking with Tamayo and says he has fled the gang and he needs a helicopter on the roof so he can evacuate. Then we go back to before this happened, where Gandia has made his way back to the panic room. The gang knows where it is now, and they are trying to figure out the vent system that leads to it, and Denver wants to kill him himself. Palermo tells the professor that Nairobi has been killed, and the professor is heartbroken once again and looks like he won't be a father anymore. The professor tells them to drill a hole through the panic room wall and inject it with narcotic gas. Back outside where the public is, the professor had posters put up everywhere saying he has proof that Rio was illegally tortured and buried alive when he was arrested. He then broadcasts a feed to the country where Rio is relaying what happened to him, and it is extremely unsettling. Tamayo tells everyone to deny any accusations made. The professor has also put into his motion to free Lisbon by using a man named Benjamin and his crew. Colonel Prieto does a press conference denying everything that the professor and Rio insinuated. While this is going on, the professor broadcasts another feat of a man that buried Rio alive, admitting to it in Algeria. Marseille was able to pay the man off, so now the world knows Prieto and Tamayo are lying about the torturing. Not knowing what to do, Tamayo tells Alicia that she has to take all the blame for the torturing, or else the government will take too much heat. She doesn't want to, but Tamayo tells her she doesn't really have a choice. Back in the panic room, Gandia convinced Tokyo to remove a glass shard out of his neck, but when she gets free, she knocks him out. She is then freed by the others. The episode ends with the professor in a video telling the world how Lisbon is being illegally detained, and then a few hours later, the Ministry of the Interior shows up and now puts Lisbon in their custody the legal way, and they are going to transport her to jail. Episode 8. The Paris Plan. Season Finale. The episode opens with Alicia telling the press everything about what happened with Rio, and also using Nairobi's son as a lure to shoot her, and she is now dead. She is pretty much ousting everyone in the negotiation van for the horrible things they have done, and Tamayo watches on in disgust because he knows he may be cooked. Benjamin and Marseille get a crew, and they start building a tunnel that leads to the court where they are going to help Lisbon escape from custody. She is brought in to testify, and she tells them everything and how they were planning on getting the gold out. The professor told her to stall as much time as she could so they could get the tunnel finished. Alicia was officially fired from her inspector job, and she tells herself she will find the professor on her own and bring him in, and when she does, she will demand to have her job back. She goes around looking at security footage, and she discovers that Antonanzas was a mole, and she will find him to get more information. After Lisbon testifies, Benjamin and the crew are able to take out a few of the guards with the tunnel, and then they force a random woman to swap places with Lisbon so she can get away. They successfully rescue Lisbon. Back inside the bank, at the beginning of the last episode, it opened with Gandia telling Tamayo that he would be on the roof and needed to evacuate with a chopper. Well, turns out, that is just the gang forcing Gandia to say that stuff, and the professor has another trick up his sleeve. The professor intercepts Tamayo's request for a helicopter, and he has Marseille fly a helicopter up above the bank, and he drops off Lisbon to be with the others. It was all a ploy to get her reunited with the gang in the bank. They dropped her off to be Nairobi's replacement to finish the heist. The gang all cheers together, and they say they are going to finish the heist for Nairobi. The season ends with Sierra showing up in the professor's hideout, and she has him at gunpoint. She says checkmate, and then the season ends. And that is it for Season 4 of Money Heist. There is one more season to finish the whole story, and I will have that uploaded soon, and then the whole series will be on my channel. Thanks for watching.